Hey everyone, Danny Hauger here. We've got a special panel episode of Inspiring Teachers. You know you get excited for these. I do too. We got 4 of the finest teachers in California: Scott Nunes, Jesus Huerta, Paul Gordon, and myself. And in the middle of the night, Jeremy Williams from Abu Dhabi is joining us. This is gonna be awesome. Before we get there, are you looking for new and engaging ways to get your students up and moving around the classroom? Get out of that sit and get rut. Go to ampeduplearning.com. It's owned by 2 teachers in Texas. They're friends of the show and they want to gamify teaching and bring the excitement back to the end of your year or any point in your teaching with creative new activities for your classroom. From their FREC resources and escape rooms for social studies and science to their speed squares and task cards for math and English, there are tons of new teacher-created resources. There's even a Hauger history store if you want to go there and check it out. It doesn't have to be about me. Anything you want to pick up today, use the code HaugerHistory10 and save 10% on all items. That's HaugerHistory10 to save 10%. Go to Amped Up Learning and follow them on social media for their monthly giveaways of Amazon gift cards, lessons, and apparel, and for just simply amazing resources that will change the course and excitement level of your classroom. Are you ready for Inspiring Teachers? I'm feeling it. Let's go. Panel episode number 49 coming right at you. Next on Inspiring Teachers.
Welcome to Inspiring Teachers, a show bringing you classroom tips, motivation, and stories from successful educators. Join Tavis Beam and Danny Hauger as they explore the why of teaching.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Inspiring Teachers. Danny Hauger here in the classroom, making connections around the world and around the country. So great to be with you as always. My co-host, Tavis Beam, is not here at the moment. He's in his woodshop classroom. I don't know, he might be cutting more Inspiring Teachers coasters. These things are awesome.
That's awesome.
We haven't put these on our videos at all, but he put a QR code on the back, and it goes to our show. And I'm like, you are such a special individual, Tavis. I'm so glad that I chose you to host the show with. The guy is super creative. And I'm joined by some new guests and new friends of the show today. Jesus Huerta and Paul Gordon are already with me. We might have some more guests joining us along the lines. But Jesus, how are you doing today? And what kind of a Wednesday was it for you?
Good. So my name is Jesus Huerta. I teach 5th grade in El Centro, California. About an hour and a half east of San Diego. So maybe you heard of San Diego, but not El Centro. We finished our state testing today. So very happy with that.
Well done.
That math test was the last part. Kids are already going crazy, but it was a good day. Not too tired. So
that's a good thing. That's a good thing. And the kids got through it. They felt motivated and you kept them focused through the end of it.
Yeah, and then afterwards, what I like to do during state testing is we review all the way up to it, but the day of, say, like last week, we had the performance task for ELA.
Sure.
Afterwards, I'll take them outside for extra PE because we don't do PE in the morning because we start off with testing right away. And then we do other activities. So one of the things we did today, and I tweeted out earlier, we were using Microsoft is it CodeMaker or MakeCode? I got to remember what it's called. It's one of those. It's from Microsoft. Mm-hmm. And they were doing a tutorial on how to make a video game where it's a little happy face that chases a piece of pizza.
Super sweet.
And they loved it.
Sounds like fun. Yeah, well, it's good. You got a reward and an incentive and then back to learning something practical, applicable, and enjoyable. That's really great. Thank you so much for joining us today. And also in California, we have like the Triangle Circuit of California today. Out in Palm Desert, Paul Gordon at Teach the Tech on Twitter. How you doing, Paul? What's going on?
Good. How are you?
Doing
Glad
great.
to be here.
So tell us about yourself and what's going on in your teaching world right now.
Absolutely. So I teach 5th grade in Palm Springs, California. I live in Palm Desert. So it's a 20-minute drive. So I can get to go to the grocery store in my Sunday lazy clothes without seeing students. So that's always fun. But so I teach 5th grade here. Today's been a crazy day. It actually rained here when it rains probably about like 4 days a year, if that. So all the roads are closed. Things are happening. It's like Carmageddon, they call it. And now I'm trying to figure out how to get home type deal. So
Wow. So that really puts a wrench in the normalcy. It's not just like unusual. It is actually changing your day.
Oh, yeah. We normally have windstorms, and that's normally okay. But this one is rain. That shuts the entire city down.
Wow. And the weather patterns around California have been strange. We've been rainy in the Bay for about 7 days in a row. And it feels like we went backwards a few months in the calendar season. How's the weather in El Centro? You're not too far away.
It's super windy. And this should be weather like mid-April, not mid-May. And it should be like 105 already, not
Which I'm not complaining that it's under 90. So
I was going to say,
we're outside right now playing kickball, and this is perfect weather to be outside. I mean, it's nice outside.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's pretty good. I mean, we'll take it, right? And Paul, tell us about your journey in education. Did you start in 5th grade? And are you always from the desert area? What's your story?
Yeah, so I'm originally from upstate New York, like near Syracuse area.
Okay.
So born and raised.
Not against you, Paul.
Yeah, of course you won't.
We'll keep the California tradition going. We'll let you. We don't mind visitors.
Right.
You know, we welcome all comers here in California.
I guess it's technically 5 years I've been here, so that's kind of.
Hey guys,
you're perfect. Hey Scott.
Hey Scott, you just interrupted me. Great.
It's because he heard you were from New York. He's like, hey, we got to cut this guy off. Yeah. Just kidding. Continue. So you started off in the Syracuse area.
Yeah. So started off there. Went to school to become a teacher. Got my master's degree in ed tech, and went to a job fair. Essentially, it was considered. I called it speed dating for teachers, where there was about 100 districts and 500 people just applying for any job that they could.
Awesome. It
was 10-minute interviews wherever you go. Bam, 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 bam. I had 30 lined up for one day. I had 15 more lined up for the next day. I hoped I got one. And my fiance at the time, we were on the same track, and we're like, okay, wherever we both get first, we got to make sure we get it.
Cool.
So about halfway through the first day, we got hired through Palm Springs, and then we're too afraid to tell them. We're like, we don't know where that is on the map.
Right.
So we just showed up. We're like, okay, great. Where do we sign? And the happy-go-lucky kids out of college.
Yeah, right.
And packed everything up that we could into the car and took the 4 or 5 day drive all the way across and rented a place without ever knowing where it was, if it was in a good part of town.
Yeah.
But now I'm living the dream, living a great life. Both of us are teachers in the same school, so that's always great.
That's such the dream. My wife's a teacher too, and that is so awesome.
You know, it's a catch-22 because you're really happy.
You were just gonna roll with that. Like, actually, be grateful. I know.
Yeah. No, it totally. It's a catch-22.
You got to finish that sentence. What were you gonna say?
Yeah, it's a catch-22 because when you have, it's great to share and carpool and all that stuff. That's always great, and then you're always with your person and your spouse. However, you're always with your spouse because whatever school drama you have, she also has the same school drama, and you're like, you can't complain and you can't argue.
There's
Danny,
no escape. Yeah.
Does Zoom have like that Twitch feature where you can clip just like a certain section?
Yeah, right. It's gonna it's gonna say is it's great, and then we're on to talking after that.
Yeah,
no,
I'm
get
not,
what
I'm
you're
not
saying. No, I totally get it. Continue.
Yeah, so I mean, it's really great where we can both be in the same place and do our own thing. I teach 5th grade, she teaches 1st grade, so we both have our own niches and our own people. We never share lunches, it's a bummer, but also kind of nice at the same time. Yeah. You can clip that as well.
Yeah.
No, but I mean.
And that's it for today, guys. So thanks so much for joining us. Just kidding.
Exactly. So I mean, it's a really great little journey where both of us were able to come right out of college, come down here, all the way across the country, all the way away from the families. We have no connection to here, so I mean, but we got lucky that we were dropped in a great school and a great place, and
fantastic.
It's awesome.
That is so wonderful. Scott, thanks for sharing that story. Oh, sorry. Paul, thanks for sharing that story. There's my transition edit to cut. What's funny is we're going, and I didn't plan this, we will go from El Centro to Palm Springs, and now we're going to Modesto, back to Northern California. Scott Nunez is with us. Scott, how are you doing today?
Hey, I'm doing great.
Appreciate that we're repping the NorCal vibe here, you and I.
Yeah,
you know,
NorCal.
I was born in Stockton, so I used to go to Modesto for bowling tournaments.
Okay, straight repping.
My juniors and seniors just had prom on Saturday, and they said, hey, Mr. Hauger, how was your senior prom? And I said, well, me being the rebel that I was, I went bowling instead because I didn't need to do what everyone else was doing. And they laughed. And I'm like, we weren't supposed to laugh at that. That's really what I did. So they thought that was really funny. So, Scott, tell us about your story and education in just a couple minutes, who you are. And then we're going to introduce Jeremy Williams, who's in Abu Dhabi. So we got 4 Californians, and then we extend internationally on this show because inspiring teachers are everywhere. Scott, tell us your story.
And so I started looking at some different options, and I thought, oh, what the heck am I going to do? And so I really took some time before deciding what the next step was going to be. I decided I didn't want to move to the Bay Area because it was too expensive away from my family. And graphic design was super competitive. And to be frank, there were just many more talented people out there. They could do what I was doing faster, better, cheaper, especially with overseas talent and things like Fiverr popping up. You could get access to these guys who could just whip something out, or a team of guys who could do it for far less than me. So I was kind of obsolete, and I had narrowed down my choices, and I thought, okay, I'm either going to do nursing or I'm going to do teaching. And everybody says I should do teaching, but let me take courses for both. I did, and right away, once I started taking those teacher courses, I knew that teaching was going to be the thing for me, and so I've been with it ever since.
Very cool.
I love it.
And are you a NorCal native?
Yeah, born and raised. My wife actually works at the hospital I was born in, and my kids were all born there.
Wow.
I only went away for a year and a half when I went to San Luis Obispo for school for a little bit.
Oh, okay. That's cool. Yeah, that's all right. Very nice. Well, it's great to have you here. And so the four of us Californians now, by just the nature of us all being with Jeremy, Jeremy's going to be in California next year. So we welcome you in advance. You can crash on our couches. Jeremy Williams, tell us your story in education. And thank you for joining us in the middle of the night. Is that all right?
It's really great to be here. It's about 2:30 in the morning UAE time. My wife thinks I'm insane. But it's really great to be here. I am originally not from California. I'm from the state of Indiana.
All right.
And my mom was a teacher. That was her background. And so it was just kind of what I was always going to do. I was always a creative. So I was a folk singer, and I would tour and play music, typically with really weird hardcore bands. I don't know how that always happened, that I'd be like never in the type of genre of music that I was playing.
Opposites attract, yeah.
Yeah. And then I kind of just figured out that as a creative, education could give me that outlet. And once I figured that out, I was kind of like, I stopped playing music, and I just took that same sort of creative energy to being a teacher, and was a teacher in Merrillville, Indiana. And then I was a principal, vice principal, and superintendent in Gary, Indiana, for a number of years. And at some point, I just remember talking to my wife, and I was like, I had a friend who was working in Abu Dhabi, and I said, well, what do you think about moving to Abu Dhabi? And the first question was like, where's that? And then I pointed to it on a map.
There you go.
And did some research, and it was like, if it sucks, we'll move back. That was kind of our attitude going in. And we've been really blessed coming out here. We have 2 little boys with a third coming soon. And it's just been it's been an experience of a lifetime to travel and get to see a bunch of different places in the world that I would have never gotten to otherwise. So the school that I run is a really small K-12 school with 600 kids coming from 46 different countries.
Oh my goodness!
And,
wow.
We're really focused on connecting students to their purpose and passion, and we're kind of running in an anti-college movement due to the cost of higher education. So we're trying to get kids to focus on what they're passionate about. And then if it needs college, awesome. But if not, let's not get them $300,000 of debt, and let's get them doing something that they're really, really excited about. But I'm really excited to be here and meet all of you. So thank you.
Yes. And thank you for sacrificing the time for us. It really means a lot to me and to the group. So we are a group of teachers from various backgrounds, all of us though with a lot of passion for what we do, which is really clear from following us each on Twitter. I'm going to put your Twitter handles all up on the screen for everyone. And today's focus with the 15 or 20 minutes that we have to talk to each other is really, how do you end a year strong? I have seniors and juniors. I moved from 4 years in middle school, and one of the main concerns that I heard from other staff, which has been very welcome to me here in the East Bay, was that be careful with May. Because after prom, after students have committed to university or to whatever their college plan is, that they can lose focus, and it can be hard to even get them picking up a pen and writing or doing anything that you need them to do. So one of the things I did was just plan, and have an A, B, and a C, so that we're not just grinding at the end of the year. We're doing meaningful activities and projects and something we're engaged in. So for me, what I did was I took my seniors, and they're all running for president right now. So they have a campaign manager, There's special interest groups all around the room trying to persuade them to vote their way. We're learning about great moments and speeches in presidential history, spotlighting positives of multiple parties and the independent parties to give people a different perspective, to know that there have been good ideas from all sorts of sources and all sorts of places. And my seniors are so geared in for this contest that it's like, what are we doing today in the elections? And that's been my way of keeping them engaged. So I had this really high payoff project at the end. And for U.S. history, we're talking civil rights. And I just feel like that's going to keep people's attention and focus at the end of the year. So we have some fifth grade teachers. We have K through 12. I'm going to go in reverse order and start with Jeremy and just say, what do you do at the end of a school year to keep kids focused, to keep kids engaged, and to make the last days of school meaningful?
Yeah, that's a big one. Whether I've been a superintendent or a classroom teacher or principal, I think one of the keys is, to your point, just making sure that the learning is extra relevant. If we want it to be, relevant normally, and we want it to be, I hate to overuse the word engaging, but we really want kids to not feel like they're suffering and they're hanging on. Creating projects and getting kids to be creative, I think, is the way to go. I think also in the flip, empowering teachers to use that time creatively for me is really important. So I'd like teachers to be less risk averse and maybe try a project that they ordinarily wouldn't, or they're nervous about. So it's tough for us. We don't end until July 4th. So it is a really long haul from May until July.
Wow.
Yeah, it's tough.
Okay. But I like the idea that it really is putting some onus on the teachers too, and that if you don't cash out early, they'll be more engaged to finish the year strong too. I don't know how many people are running a movie right now, but it can be meaningful and rewarding to do that in those closing moments. But I find that these days you're still talking about really 10% of the school year, right? In the last home stretch. And that could be, and for a lot of students, I think your lasting impression on them is whatever you did with them last. So thank you, Jeremy. Those are really cool ideas. Scott, I'm going to pass on to you. What's the end of the year look like in your classroom? I see you sharing a lot of neat resources on Twitter and things that you're doing. So what does it mean for you?
No, Jeremy's response was great, because I could totally piggyback off of that. It's almost like he's one of my admin and he's speaking to me. So
might be.
Touching on that point about being extra relevant, I'm really trying to keep them engaged by pointing out the relevance, not just for this year, but for the future. And not, I like what you talked about earlier, Danny, or actually it was Jeremy, sorry, back to Jeremy on that, with prepping the students not just for college, but life. So if they don't choose to go the college route, they're still getting skills that they need, still doing things that are meaningful. And so what I'm doing right now is I'm ditching that final. I'm taking a huge risk, not doing a formal final. I'm doing a project-based learning assignment instead. The students are each creating their own board game based upon either an assigned reading or a set of reading that we've done over the course of the year. And it's really good, and something that I've done, and I think they're finally appreciating it, is I'm giving them more and more opportunities for feedback. So I had them turn in the project way early, and I gave them one round of feedback. Then they turned it in again today, and I gave them feedback as they were finishing things up. And then if they have any kind of last minute tweaks, I haven't told them this part yet, because I really did want a complete project for today. I'm going to give them a little bit of time to make those last minute tweaks to up their grade a little bit, because I'm really going for mastery. It's not that one and done thing. And so it was great. I followed Matt Miller's suggestions in his Tech Like a Pirate session he did at Q. And he was saying, hey, have them do these kinds of things. And in his Ditch That Textbook, he talks about having the students kind of like get involved and invest. And so I let them design this project. Now, they really designed it the way I wanted it to be designed. I steered them in that direction, but they had student choice and student voice embedded in it, because they ultimately chose it on their own. I didn't have to force it. And so that was great. So there's a lot less pushback on this.
Yeah, that's great. You know what? You invested. I did the same thing. I had to walk away and listen to you talk about a board game. We made Brentwoodopoly. So we made each
That's
space
cool.
like a local city, because I'm teaching government. Each space on the board is a local city property, and we made it life size. So they're going to walk around the whole classroom and play Brentwoodopoly and learn history. So there's information about their town that they live in that they know almost nothing about because they've never asked and never investigated. And they'll have all this cool local information. And I think it's what you said. It's an investment and a payoff. And we were talking earlier about music. I have my guitar in the classroom, and sometimes I just randomly pick them up and we'll do a song study guide. And we'll just cover some key topics, and it'll be really goofy, and I'll laugh at myself. But they remember stuff like that, and they talk about things, and they retain the little silly and fun things that we do. Scott, that is super. That is awesome.
Yeah, I'm going to steal that, by the way.
Please. We can all steal from each other. It's all California teacher products here. Paul Gordon, how about you, sir? What's the end of the year, and what are you doing?
Well, we're actually still testing. We have up until Friday to still test. This is going into our 3.5 weeks of just straight grinding of about 2 hours a day, which is absolutely insanity. And that's really it's been really hurting the kids, where they're like, hey, I used to love coming to school. We used to do so many fun things. And now I'm sitting for 1.5 hours doing all these tests. And I'm like, I'm standing there with you. I'm just as bored as you. But I can't really express that, because then those grades suffer, and then you get pulled into the admin's office and you have to talk about why you didn't teach all year. It's like, well, that's not really what happened. But what we like to do is that for 5th grade, we have to teach state capitals and states, and they have to memorize all 50 states and all 50 capitals. We do a project where they pick a state, and they have to really dive into that one state. They become that state.
Cool.
And we're currently, we just chose who chooses what state. And then they do a whole bunch of research. They create a presentation. They share their presentation. And then where I really enjoy it is that they start making state floats, where it's a shoebox, a cardboard box, or whatever they want, where they make all the things and they take all the relevant information that they found about their state. They put it on a float, where that's either on a skateboard, a scooter. They make their own wheels, connects, or they even had some with RC cars that were pulling them. I said the next jokingly that someone needs to make it on a drone, but we'll see where that goes. And then we invite the entire school to join us. They go outside their classrooms, because in California we have classes outdoors. We don't have them indoors. That was a new concept for me. And we blast a whole bunch of patriotic music over the radio and the PA system, and the kids just walk around the entire school showing their float projects that they just made. All the other students, 950 roughly, join, they watch, they see. And it really is like that end of the year.
Cool.
Everyone waits for that. It's the last week of school where, 5th grade's doing the float projects. Let's go take a look at them. Let's see what's going on with it. And I enjoy it because it's that project-based learning. They are learning the content we need to teach them, but then they're also very engaged and they're very happy about what they're doing.
That's awesome. So much of what we do is trying to get there. That is very cool. Thank you for sharing that, Paul. And Jesus, we have about 6 or 7 minutes left. And what is the end of the year for you, and what's your approach this time of year?
My end of the year usually is just continuing like the same kind of projects. This year I really pushed music and podcasting in the classroom.
Cool.
Using Soundtrap, using Anchor, having the kids just make like a snippet of music as the beginning of it at the beginning of the year. They've written like 2-3 minute songs. Some have made extra songs at home just because they have access to it and they love it. Something that they did today was they continued working on making a different kind of video game. And just really just doing projects that I want to like try out, like experiment with. Kind of hard to do it right now because we have a couple weeks left and I have to pack up because I'm moving to a different school. But one of the things that I wanted to try, which I'll probably end up trying with a summer school group that I'm working with in another district, is I have 3D printers, but I have a bigger one that it can print like gigantic. is I want them to design their own masks. But I wanted to tie back to either if we read a book as a class, or have them write like a narrative, which is one of the 5th grade standards. They have to write a story and then draw out the mask, and then using the math that's built into 3D design, they have to scale it and measure it properly so it's going to fit, their face. And then when they finish, they go up and tell the story to the class with the mask on. I wanted to try to do that, but it didn't look like I'm going to be able to at the end of this year, but that's fine. I'll probably try it over the summer or beginning of next year. But something that, I like to do is just crazy stuff. It's crazy because, it's a big risk, but just stuff that I've seen throughout the year that I'm like, okay, I'm going to try that because I know we have time. I mean, they're still going to, learn some of the stuff they need for 6th grade, but we have a lot of downtime, and a lot of them already just beat from, the drill and kill of reviewing for state testing. Today they tested from basically 8:30 till almost noon,
Yeah. Well,
it's heavy for a 10, 11-year-old to just sit here and crack their head open and just, work. So I just, going to try different things. Oh, you know what? There is something that I do at the end of the year. And they just, I see Paul laughing. I just remembered, they designed their own PE games. And right now it's perfect because the weather's still nice. And I have a lot of dodgeball type ones, and some are like, okay, the rules are all wonky, but some have been really good. One they called Virus, where when you hit somebody with the ball, they have to join the other team. And so one side can eventually have 25 of the 30 students. And if the other side is still good players, I mean, they can bring people back and forth. So the class, the game goes back and forth. It can last a long time.
Neat.
And a little kid came up with it this year. So I was like, oh, it's awesome. So stuff like that, keep pushing.
Well, I like that you said that people can come up with ideas. I got a Post-it from one of my students today that said, could we do like a song of the day where like every day you had a song and it tied into either what we were learning or something that relates to the lesson? Like that's tremendous. We could work on over summer and have ready for the fall.
Well, I have an idea for you since you mentioned music.
Yeah.
One day I told me, hey, we're making songs, and they all go with electronic music. So I told them, all right, name different types of music: reggae, salsa, banda, mariachi. They were, heavy metal. I'm like, all right, here's the list. All right, I go. So here's the thing: either I randomly pick your partner with my little iPad randomizer, or I randomly pick the genre for you. Everybody wanted to pick their partner. I had kids with mariachi music, some with heavy metal, and they tried their best to make that music, and it was awesome. So cool. There's something for you to try.
That is something for all of us to try. And, this digital room is full of warm ideas and teachers who care to come up with things to make things special and memorable for students. That's everything. That's what the show's about. So it's time of the show where it's time for each of us to tell everyone out there, where can you go to find more ideas and where can people follow you? So the thing I'm going to talk about this week is 2 other teachers from our high school and myself just played a set at the Contra Costa County Fair. It was really a blast. Some of the students came out and saw us, and you've made connections when they're going out of their way during their school days, and they've got homework and jobs. So you can watch that video on YouTube. Just search Danny Hauger Contra Costa Fair. Also, Danny Hauger Music is available, which there's 49 episodes in, and I've never plugged. So I'm going to throw that out there. At Show Teachers on Twitter for our show. At Danny Hauger is me personally. And then, Paul, why don't you start? Tell us where people can find you. Is there anything new that you've written or worked on? Now's the time to share it out.
Yeah, absolutely. So you can find me on Twitter at Teach the Tech. Also, you can take a look at Jesus Huerta's and I's brand new website that's just coming out. It's easy as 123d.org.
Cool.
That's something that we've been working on the side for the last couple of weeks. That's been a lot of fun. We've been getting a lot of great feedback on that. We just want to build that and build the 3D printing community. And also, we hosted our first 3D Printing EDU chat last night, Jesus and I, and that thing took off.
Cool.
We talked late last night. I'll let Jesus finish that one up.
All right, Jesus.
So, yeah, we just started that. It'll be every Tuesday, 5:30 p.m. Pacific time. Jeremy, I don't know if that's like, noon, lunchtime. Maybe you could join us.
I'll be there.
There we go.
We're just going to keep, we're going to keep doing that every week. Just keep updating the site. Me, I'm at Jesus H 1979, so it's JESUS H 1979. And actually, June 1st, I'll be up in Scott's area. I'm going to be up at Krause Center for Innovation up near San Jose. They have their Silicon Valley STEM Festival, and I'm going to do 4 sessions, 2 on 3D printing for beginners and advanced.
Awesome.
Do one on game creation in the classroom, which talks about cardboard arcade, which Paul has mentioned before in the past. Scott mentioned board games. I do the same thing in the class. And then also game creation with the video games. And then also music creation in the classroom. So Danny, that's
so much good stuff. You're full of good ideas.
Thank you. I try my best.
Well, we thank you so much for sharing them. Jeremy, where can people find you and the things that you're working on?
I host a podcast called Dismissed through Disrupted TV. It focuses on expat life, entrepreneurship, and education. The last episode I did was with a gentleman named Scott Santins, who is one of the world's foremost experts on universal basic income. So I really suggest people, if you're not too familiar with that as a concept, it was absolutely fascinating because he was explaining how much that idea and concept would impact K-12, which I had never really considered before. But you can find me at jwilliams.edu, and I'm sure all of these fine, upstanding gentlemen will be guests on my show if I beg them and make them record at 2:30 in the morning. So,
as long as our wives get to start yelling at us, we're good.
Yeah.
Oh, I can help you.
Jeremy,
you all
you
the tips on how to do that if you need.
Join us right now. You know what? I'm in. You just got to let me know what day and time. And
yeah, nice.
I already followed you on Twitter, so I don't know if these guys did. So I should be first.
Yeah.
Oh, you should have just got the notification about your podcast. So I mean, now I'm a follower of that as well.
Sweet stuff,
Awesome.
man. This is what the show's all about too, is linking us all together, right? It's not really about competition. It's about sharing good ideas and making sure that good ideas are getting out to people, because that betters our whole profession. Scott Nunez, how about you? Where can people follow you?
Yeah, so people can follow me on Twitter's probably the best spot at Mr. Nunes Teach. So Nunes rhymes with tunes. And also via my podcast, the TNT EdTech podcast. So that's at Twitter at TNT, like dynamite, and then EdTech all together, or www.tntedtech.com. And recently we just had Jesus and Paul's piece just dropped today. So if you want to hear more Paul and Jesus, check out the TNT EdTech podcast. And hey, I know we'd love to have Jeremy and Danny on as well. We're better together, as the hashtag implies. So learning
true.
a lot today, gained so much.
So true. And so have I, guys. I really appreciate your time and the effort that you put in each day and each week. I hope we'll get the chance to talk again. I'm happy to guest on anybody's program. And for everyone out there watching, we certainly appreciate your time and joining us. You can follow us on Twitter at Show Teachers. Like, share, and subscribe. Our show only grows through your recommendations. And we hope that this show can help stave off some of that burnout at the end of the year and have you refocused and excited for the end of the school year. Until the next edition, for Jeremy, Paul, Scott, and Jesus, I'm Danny Hauger saying thank you so much for watching. We'll see you on the next edition. And until then, everybody, class is dismissed. We'll see you later.